Welcome back. It's our Chicago real estate market update, and this is a very special edition because it is time to give you our predictions for the 2022 Chicago real estate market. Stay tuned for that. Before we do, as always, we're about to give you the update for the whole area, but I was just looking at this earlier today, and there's a few neighborhoods and a few communities I think will be substantially different than this. So if you want to know what the market's going to be like in your neighborhood, in your community, in your city, just fill out that form below. Give us your name, email, and the neighborhood or community that you are interested in, and we will send you our report on that specific area for what's going to happen in 2022. All right, in order to get a good look at where we're going in 2022, we need to talk about where we are right now. So real quick, let's do the numbers. Going into the end of the year, here's where we're at in terms of median home prices. In the Chicago market overall, they're up, as you know, 12% year over year. Big gains have stayed steady all the way through the year. The city of Chicago is up 6.3% to a median price of $335,000. And in downtown Chicago, home prices are up 2.5% over the past 12 months. Moving into the demand side of the equation, the number of homes going under contract overall in Chicago up 2.1%. If that seems like a small number, that's because things were already pretty hot this time last year in the Chicago market overall. But in the city, they're up 16.1%, which shows that the city was a little bit behind the market overall in terms of how quickly demand picked up. And finally, just to prove my point, downtown Chicago, year over year, up 60.6%. That's right, folks. Demand is up by almost 2/3 in downtown Chicago compared to this time last year. All of these are the best Novembers that these markets have ever had, going all the way back to 2008. You heard me say something similar about October 1 month ago. Moving on to the supply side of things, the number of homes for sale in November in the Chicago market overall down 30.5%. There's a lot less for sale than there was even in November of last year. In the city of Chicago, it's down 25.8%, and in downtown Chicago, down 37.4%. There's never a lot of homes for sale by the time we get to December because holidays and sellers know that buyers aren't out there as much, so they just don't list their homes for sale. But this is still the fewest homes we've had for sale at the end of November, going all the way back to 2008. So if you're following along at home, we've got record demand across the board. We've got record low supply across the board. What does all that tell you about 2022? You guessed it. It's going to be another crazy spring market. Now, crazy probably isn't the most actionable word, so let's break that down for you. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to give you a play-by-play of the 2022 Chicago real estate market and give you some advice for how you can manage your home buying or selling processes during those times. Okay, let's go. January and February. Folks, it's going to be hot right out of the gates. Demand is already higher than it normally is for this time of year. We've already talked to a lot of you about starting your search in January. We know you're out there just waiting, biding your time, ready to get out there and take advantage of the housing market before it gets too busy, but before your leases end in May and June of 2022. Omicron, let's talk about that real quick. This wave will probably cause people to spend a little bit more time at home over the next couple of weeks than they would have, probably not like it was in 2020, but a little bit more time at home. And what we know is that COVID has always been an accelerant for the housing market, okay? So all the trends that already happened, it just pushed them forward and faster. So we're probably gonna see just a little bit of that in that more people will be ready to make moves just because they've been cooped up at home, looking at other homes online that they might want to live in instead. The difference this time compared to 2020 and even 2021 is that we've burned through all the supply basically anywhere in the market. So we already had no supply in the suburbs. We had low supply in the city, but we had a ton of supply in downtown, especially in the downtown condo market. That's mostly gone, with the exception of a few neighborhoods and submarkets. That's mostly gone. So demand for those areas are at all-time highs. And now we're through the supply. So at this point, going into 2022, it's going to be a seller's market pretty much across the board. There shouldn't be too many soft spots. Talking about the downtown market a little bit more, that market can be really tough for buyers this year, but it's not quite too late. It's almost too late, but not quite too late. If you want to buy a condo downtown, I recommend you get it on it as soon as possible, especially while rates are low, but mostly before that inventory goes to the levels that we're seeing in the greater Chicago area, especially in the suburbs and the single family markets. That's gonna happen probably by March or April. So if you can snag something in early January, you're gonna get a much better deal on that place. So that's January, February. Let's talk about March and April. Personally, I'm not planning any vacations for those 2 months. It's going to be bananas again. We're talking multiple offers, home selling in a couple of days, or even before they hit the market. It's going to be really important to work with your realtor, look at the private networks. We have access to the MLS's private network as well as Top Agent Network, where a lot of those listings live before they hit the open market. In March and April of 2021, there almost was no public market. Anything good was selling off of the private market. Rates are going to start rising again a little bit in March and April. The Fed has already started tapering its bond buying program, and that's going to start to cause rates to rise a little bit, and that's only going to add to the fervor because people are going to see that rates are going up, and they're going to realize that they've got to finally get a place now, and that's going to cause them to get out there and make things even busier. An increase in interest rates doesn't always equal a leveling off of prices right away. It can take a little bit. Moving on to May and June, I'm really interested to see what happens in May and June. Make sure you subscribe below because we're going to give you monthly updates as we go through the year. It's going to be an inflection point. The bond buying fully ends around this time of the year that the Fed's been doing. Doesn't mean they're going to sell those bonds, but they're going to stop buying them, and they're going to start to raise interest rates, or so they have said. So this will cause mortgage interest rates to rise. How much is subject to some interpretation. Some people say mid-3s, some people say it could be all the way up to 4% by the end of the year. If you see mortgage interest rates hit 4%, it's gonna be a drag on the housing market. It won't cause home prices to fall. Don't get too excited. It's not gonna crash, but it will cause them to stop rising as quickly, or in some markets to stop rising at all. The market always slows down in May or June. It just may feel like it slows down even more because of how crazy it was at the beginning of the year. And then also it may slow down a little bit more than normal if those interest rates start to rise. If you are thinking about selling your home in 2022, please, if you're out there, please call us now. Let's start planning for this. Please don't call us in May. It happens every year. We hear from a bunch of people in May, and they say, hey, we're going to sell the house. And we say, hey, cool, you should have been on the market 3 months ago. That's probably going to cost you $10,000 for waiting that long. So if you've got a place to sell and you don't have to buy anything, it's real simple. You absolutely should list in probably February this year is going to be the best time. July and August, this is summertime shy. People start to forget about housing a little bit. They go to the beach, they go to the pool, they go on vacation, they go to 1 million weddings, and the housing market always slows down a little bit this time of year. If you're a buyer and you got beat up in the spring and didn't find anything, save a few weekends because you can probably get back out there in July and August and finally get yourself a place. Through the end of the year is going to be interesting. It's going to gradually slow down. It always does from September all the way through December of 2022. It always slows down, and it will next year too. That won't be any exception. The question is not whether it's going to slow down, but whether it will remain busier than normal for the second half of the year, or whether it will be less busy than normal for the second half of the year. The increase in interest rates could cause the market to be slower than normal in the second half of 2022. The shift in demand that occurred during the pandemic, in other words, all the people moving their plans up because everything was accelerated, moved forward, could mean that demand is softer in the second half of 2022. At some point, that's going to happen. It could be the second half of 2022. The other thing that could happen, though, is that it's still busy. It could stay busier than normal through the end of 2022. The pandemic obviously led to low interest rates, which increased demand for housing, and that caused prices to increase, caused the market to be very busy. It also changed people's living habits and made them want to live different places. The other thing it did was it made people realize that anything could change at any time. They could change their jobs. You saw the Great Resignation take place this year. They could change where they lived. They could change a lot of things. And it's possible that we're in the midst of just a big shakeup of a lot of stuff in America, and one of those is where people live. So it could be that that trend actually outlives the low interest rates and outlives the pandemic. We'll have to see. It's possible that things will stay busy through the end of 2022, maybe even beyond. That's your 2022 real estate market play-by-play for the Chicago area. Like I said, there are gonna be pockets where things are different. Fill out that form below. We'll keep you posted on what's going on in your neighborhood, your community, and we'll give you the forecast for that area as well. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a like if you liked what you saw here today, because we will be back in 1 month's time with another Chicago real estate market update. You don't want to miss that one, because that'll be our first market update of the new year. We're going to have a lot better look at the 2022 market, so don't miss it. We'll see you then.